Hi everyone, it's Alice, and today we're gonna do a book haul, and it's kind of a big one this time because, well, because I'm me. That's why. We've got so much to go through today, so we're just gonna dive straight in. First, I've got this beautiful book called Crazy for Birds. This is by Misha Meiernick Blaze, and I got this because I kind of want to get back into like nonfiction books about nature, and birds are kind of cool. I don't know a lot about birds, but there seem to be a lot of cool birds around. And I saw this online and I saw that it was illustrated, but I didn't realize how illustrated this book is. Like every single page in this book is beautifully, beautifully illustrated, like every single page. And then there are all of these facts about, I think not just birds, but like how birds have influenced culture and like eggs and stuff. Here we have an owl that looks really cool. And aw, this little bird. I love these types of birds that are like all head. It's all beak and head and barely any body. So I can't wait to read this book. I think it's going to be such a treat, and it looks so beautiful. Secondly, I got a bunch of mystery books this month, and the first one is The Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. I've previously read 3 other books by Thorogood. He writes the Murder in the Caribbean series, which is like a super enjoyable, cozy mystery series with an island setting, and I've just really enjoyed those, so I figured I would give this a go as well. It sounds really good. It's about this 77-year-old woman who is just like living her life. She's really happy and she's out swimming in like a river one day, and when she's there she witnesses this really brutal murder and she tells the police about it and they don't believe her. So she ends up, I think, investigating this for herself, and I love a good like cozy mystery, that's what it sounds like to me, with like elderly amateur sleuths, so I think this is gonna be great. Next, I finally picked up a copy of Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz, which again is a mystery, but this sounds more like thrillery to me. It's about this editor who is working with this best-selling author who she's worked with for years, and she is given his latest manuscript, and she gets it and starts reading it thinking that it's just like a regular manuscript, but then she gets into it and she gets the sense that there is more to this story somehow. I've been recommended this book a lot, so I'm guessing it's gonna be really good. Then we've got a book by an author I've wanted to try out for a while, and it is The Burning Girls by C.J. Tudor. And again, this is a mystery thriller, but it seems like it sort of borders kind of on horror, which is exciting. It's set in the English countryside, and it's about this vicar who moves there and sort of discovers that this community is haunted by death and all of these like weird disappearances. And then there seems to be something about some, I'm guessing like witches or something, or some people being burned ages ago, and that somehow like has something to do with these more recent disappearances. I don't really know, but it sounds like a small town mystery to me, and there's like this community where everyone knows everyone and there are all of these secrets, and it doesn't get much better than that. I then got a book that I actually don't have super high hopes for, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but it's just one of those books that I've seen mixed reviews of, but I just want to try it out for myself, and it is The Chain by Adrian McKinty. And this book is about a series of like kidnappings. So the story starts off with a woman who drops off her daughter at school, I think, and then a little while later she is called up by an unknown number, and a woman tells her that she has kidnapped her daughter, and in order to get her back she has to pay a ransom, but then also abduct another kid. So there's like this chain of kidnappings, and I just think that sounds very intriguing. I'd love to know like who is the mastermind behind this. It sounds very exciting, but it also sounds like the kind of thing that could be kind of bad, and I just want to like read it and see for myself. Then I got a book that I have been eyeing for a while, and it is The Fanapfel Girls Are Gone by Felicity McLean. And again, I've actually heard kind of mixed things about this one, but I just want to try it out for myself. This is set in the 90s, I think, in the summer, and it's about these 3 sisters who go missing, and we see this story through the eyes of an 11-year-old girl. This is set in Australia, which I love, and it seems like it's kind of like a mix of a mystery and a coming-of-age story. Next, I picked up Unspeakable Things by Jess Laurie, and this one I think is inspired by a true story. It's set in Minnesota in the 1980s in the small town, and we follow this young woman who kind of loves her life. Like, she lives with her family on this farm and she loves going to school, and the only thing that's kind of weird in her life is that her parents have all of these like odd parties, and there's a lot of weird people coming to these parties. And then I think in this like town, all of these boys start disappearing, but they come back, and when they come back they are very, very different. Like, something has obviously happened to them, and I just think that sounds really suspenseful and kind of creepy. Then we've got a book that is sort of more YA leaning, I think, and it is The Project by Courtney Summers. And this is a contemporary thriller about a woman whose sister joins a cult. And these sisters, they kind of just have each other because their parents are dead. And this woman is so desperate to get her sister back, so I think she also joins the cult or something, and she gets to know like what's going on there, and she gets to know the very charismatic leader, who is also of course very dangerous because he's a cult leader. And I just love reading about cults, to be honest. I can never really resist it, so I figured I would give this a go. Next we have got some dystopia, and it's The Grace Year by Kim Liggett, and this one sounds insane, although I guess all dystopian novels are kind of insane. It's set in a place called Garner County, I think, and in this place, young girls and young women are raised to believe that they have this amazing power over men, and they have the power to make other women jealous, and this power is really dangerous. So in their 16th year, they are banished from this town and sort of forced to live out in the woods, I think, and the point of that is to have them release their magic into the wild so they can come back and be like purified and good wives or something. But surviving this time out in the wild is not guaranteed. It just sounds so crazy, but I love a good like dystopian with feminist undertones, so I think this is going to be really good. Moving on, I have got 4 books that were sent to me by various publishers, and the first one is Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. And this sounds like kind of an intense book. It explores toxic relationships and dependency and female desire, which I thought sounded interesting. And I've read the first couple of pages and I really like the writing. And I think the story is about this woman who falls madly in love with a man, and she makes this man like the point of her entire life, which I think is going to be a very interesting thing to explore. I was also sent The Savage Instinct by M.M. DeLuca, and this one I accepted because apparently it's about a female serial killer. It's set in England in the late 1800s, I think, and it starts off with this woman who is released from an insane asylum, and she returns to her husband, but she feels very trapped by her marriage, and somehow she becomes like friends with this notorious female serial killer. And I just think that sounds really interesting. I don't think we see a lot of female serial killers in fiction, so I thought reading about one could be kind of cool. Then we've got 2 books I was sent by a Norwegian publisher, and the first one is Økseskipet by Jens Henrik Jensen. This is not a new book, I don't think, it's just newly translated because this author is Danish. And this is the first book in a series where we follow a detective inspector who lives in this, I think, smaller Danish town, and she is a single mother. And the case in this one starts off when this detective is on a police training course, and she stumbles upon the trail of one of the main suspects in her like earlier unsolved cases from her early career, and that makes her like dive back into this case. The English title of this is The Axe Ship, by the way. Another first book in a series I was sent was Heksejakt by Max Seek, and the author of this one is Finnish, which is really cool. I really haven't read a lot of Finnish authors. This is a crime novel, and in English I think it's called The Witch Hunter, and the story is about this author who is murdered in this like super bizarre ritual, and it turns out that this ritual has been described in one of this author's books. So the police start to investigate what's going on. Then I've got a Nordic noir book that I picked up myself, and it is En Grav for To by Anne Holt. And I got this because I've really been getting into like Scandi noir, but I feel like a lot of the authors that I am reading right now and have read are Swedish, and I haven't really found like any Norwegian ones that I'm really into, so I thought I would give this a go. Apparently it's supposed to be really good. It's about this woman who has basically like lost everything in a short amount of time. She's lost her husband and her family and her home and her job, and she's just like, she's lost everything. And she's pulled into this case that has something to do with like Norway's top cross-country skier being busted for illegal drugs. And the father of this like cross-country skier thinks that they have been sabotaged, and I think this woman is pulled in to sort of investigate. There is a murder in here as well, and I just thought like it sounded really cool. It doesn't get much more Norwegian than like fictional crime and cross-country skiing. Finally, moving on to something that is not mystery or crime, we have got The 10 Loves of Mr. Nishino by Hirumi Kawakami, and this one is translated from Japanese, and I honestly just got it because I really like this author. The story in here seems to be about this like elusive womanizer or something who keeps seducing all of these people, which maybe doesn't sound that interesting, but I think the story focuses mostly on the people that are seduced, and I'll read whatever this author writes because I'm a huge fan. Then we have got a beautiful book, and it is The Familiars by Stacey Halls, and this is a historical fiction novel set in the 17th century, and it's about this woman who is absolutely desperate to have a child. She's been pregnant several times, but she's never gotten far enough in the pregnancy to give birth to a living child, so she enlists the help of this midwife who promises that she can help her. But then I think the midwife is accused of witchcraft. I really like historical fiction, and I really like exploring this time period where there was like this huge witch hunt and everything, so I think this is gonna be really good. Lastly, I picked up these two beautiful middle grade books, and the first one is A Sprinkle of Sorcery by Michelle Harrison. This is the second book in the A Pinch of Magic series, where we follow these three sisters who are cursed to forever stay on the island that they grew up on. At least that's what happens in the first book. I don't really know what happens in this one, but I really enjoyed the first one, and I feel like these books are perfect for when you want something easy and with a little bit of magic. Lastly, we have got The Castle of Tangled Magic by Sophie Anderson, and I love this cover. I am obsessed with it. The story in here is about this young girl who lives in this like crumbling castle, I think, and there are all of these like secret passageways and hidden doors in this place, and then one day she comes across this door that she's never seen before, and she goes through and ends up in this magical land. But of course, there is something afoot in this land that she needs to help out with, I think. It sounds lovely and perfect for when I want like a light adventure story. Okay everyone, those were the many lovely books I had to show you today. I would love to know if you read any of these and what you thought, or if maybe you're interested in reading some of them. Links to my Patreon and other social media will be in the description as usual if you're interested, and I will see you soon. Bye!